Good morning, class. Today we're going to be looking at the health of the Hawaii coral reefs. My question, it states, to what extent will banning oxybenzone affect the Hawaii coral reefs? To clarify, oxybenzone is actually a chemical sunscreen that is known to produce chemical ingredients that protects your skin from being exposed to the sun, which is one of the many reasons why people tend to put on these sunscreens. This sunscreen is known to be used a lot in Hawaii because Hawaii is known to be a major tourist attraction for the coral reefs. And one way they explore the coral reefs is snorkeling. Once they go snorkeling, they need to use sunscreen to protect their skins from the sun. But what people aren't aware of is that once these chemical substances are in the ocean, it actually directly impacts the coral reefs and it actually has an opposite effect for the reefs. This leads me to say that banning oxybenzone will positively affect the Hawaii coral reefs because this type of sunscreen carries chemical ingredients that are causing serious damage to the coral reefs and are hurting their environment, and this leads to major damages to the coastal environments. One research I found from Ethan Daniels stated that once these chemical substance ingredients are in the water, it directly impacts the reefs. And once it hits the reefs, it causes coral bleaching, meaning that these reefs cause a disease and they die off. And so that's how these sunscreen affects the coral reefs, and it's stated that Hawaii are planning on banning these sunscreens by like 2020. One of the perspectives that were provided us stated from the NOAA stated that these coral reefs buffer shorelines against waves, storms, and flood, helping to prevent lost life, property damage, and erosion. So as you can see here, as the waves approaches the shorelines, the coral reefs reduces the wave energies. That's how these reefs protect the shorelines, and that's how they're so important to the coastal environments. Also, another piece of information I found stated that when reefs are damaged or destroyed, the absence of this natural barrier can increase the damage to coastal communities from normal wave action and violent storms. As you can see in this picture, that is a dead reef, meaning that dead reefs don't have the same effect as healthy reefs. Healthy reefs reduces wave energy from being impacted to the shorelines. But when the reefs are dead, they won't provide any support to the coastlines, and that's just going to increase major damages to the coastal environments. This will further lead to Hawaii banning on these sunscreens. A source I found from the guest blogger stated that these chemicals disrupt the development of reefs, making them more likely to undergo bleaching. Like I said again, these sunscreens affect coral reefs. They undergo bleaching, meaning they die off. They won't support coastal environments. And fun fact, I found that every year these coral reefs are exposed to over 60,000 tons of sunscreen lotion every year. So if there isn't a law to pass by banning these laws, the number of that will increase because by year more tourism are visiting the Hawaii reefs. And in order to decrease major damages to the coastal environments, they're going to want to ban these laws. But many people argue that there are still many coral reefs out in Hawaii oceans, and if these chemical ingredients were so bad for the reefs, we would already see the impact since there's so many coral reefs out in the ocean. And one of the things he said was that climate change could be one of the major impacts from coral reefs. As the weather increases, so does the ocean water, and that affects the coral reefs and they go bleaching. Also, one fact, overfishing. So as more tourism go visit the Hawaii population, the demanding of fisheries will increase. So unsustainable fishing means a depletion of the coral reefs. Pollution from sediment runoff from land-based pollution. Basically what that means is human waste. As human waste is from the rivers, estuaries, it goes to the ocean and it carries excessive nutrients, lack of water, and that impacts the coral reefs. And so in one way we can decrease these issues on coral reefs is to decrease damaged coral reefs is to reduce carbon emissions. In conclusion, there's many ways we can stop these negative impacts on coral reefs. One way we can reduce that is limit the amount of chemical ingredients on sunscreen that will reduce the impacts of the coastal environments. But one easy way is to ban these laws. In order to reduce any impacts of the coastal environments, we must ban these laws to keep the Hawaii coastal area safe. Thank you. That concludes my presentation. And what are your questions?
I got two questions for you. First up, how'd your research question evolve as you moved through the research process?
Great question. So my research question evolved as soon as I started doing more information. As I started doing my research question, I didn't really know what I was really doing, but as I gathered a lot of evidences, my research question evolved as I did a lot of research about it.
Okay, and if you had more time, what would you do?
Great question. So I think I would have done more. I would have done more research on chemical sunscreen. I should have included how these chemical ingredients affect it. I just stated that it affects it, but I didn't talk about how it, what chemical ingredients produces in this sunscreen that affects it. And if I had more additional time, I would have done that.
Okay,